price is going to be completely different, even though they're on the same street, because there is no control over what you can charge. There's no regulation when it comes to that. It's like, okay, I woke up, my heart feels like this house is worth $500,000. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so today's video is going to be all about selling property in Ghana, and how easy or difficult it is to sell. I know a lot of you really liked the video that I did before, the one about Americans leaving. Now, I think this is kind of like a follow-up for that, because when you have invested in Ghana and you've already bought your property, you've bought your land, you've got certain assets here. Now, what to do with those assets? So I thought this was a really important video to do, because some people confuse what it's like to sell property in the West and what it's like to sell property in Ghana. They are two different things, okay? So this is kind of, I guess, some type of spin-off of the last video. If you haven't already watched that video, I suggest you go watch that one. That's the video that I did before this one, which is about Americans leaving Ghana and going back to the States, right? African Americans. So, now, one thing I want you to understand when it comes to investment here is that when you invest in Ghana, you invest for a long time. That's just how it is. Like, really, if you're coming to Ghana and you're trying to do things like property flip and things like that, it's going to be very difficult. It's not like what we see in the West. Like in the UK, we have this program called Homes Under the Hammer, which I absolutely love, by the way. So basically, that show is about, finding properties that need fixing up. You put a little bit of cash into it, you do up the property, you sell it for a profit, and you keep on doing that, right? So you property flip. I'm sure they have something very similar in the UK, in the States. Now, one of the things I think that people confuse with Ghana, although we have lots of properties that can be flipped, because, I mean, if you've gone into any type of house in Ghana, you will see that they need work, like from the tiles or lighting within the property. The properties lack certain things, and it would be easy to get a property and fix it up and be able to make a profit on it. But it doesn't work the same way as it does in the West. Because when it comes to Ghana, that turnover rate is much slower. People are slower to invest here. So if you're trying to do something like a property flip, it's not going to work. And it can work, but it will take you a long time. If you're ready to wait a couple of years to get a buyer, then that's fine. If it doesn't matter that your money is locked for some time, then that's fine. The only way you could be fortunate is if you have a really good circle of friends that are maybe investors, or, they have some type of interest in that type of thing. Then perhaps you will have a buyer like ready to go, right? Your own personal buyer. But if not, and you're just trying to market to anybody that's coming to Ghana, can sometimes be a little bit more tricky. So if you've come from the States, you've invested here, you've bought a house, you've bought land, and you think, actually Ghana's not for me, and you want to move somewhere else, selling that property is not going to be what you think. It can take some time. Unless your property is priced very, very well and it has lots of potential. Like, it has to be a deal. For someone to buy it, it has to be a deal. You may have gone and fallen in love with this property, and so you purchased it for a price. Like, that property was for you. Somebody else may not see the value that you see in that property, because for starters, even when it comes to areas, people don't necessarily have the pick and choice of the area that they want to live in here as they do in the West. Like the West, I can say, okay, I want to live in London, I want to live in Manchester, I want to live in Surrey Keys, I want to live in Battersea, I want to live in Streatham, I want to live in Croydon. Like things like that. It's easier to move to certain areas, like you have a lot more options. But when it comes to Ghana, it's a little bit more tough to pick an area and say, okay, I'm going to live in this area, and this is the area that I'm going to search for a house in. It doesn't work like that, because the area that you pick may not have a house that is suitable for you. So now you're going to go somewhere else. Like, there are a lot more restrictions when it comes to buying certain things. So therefore, looking for a buyer can be more difficult. So I'd suggest, if you're going to sell your property here, for one, be ready that it could take some time. People do sell houses here and it does work, but sometimes they have to wait. Be prepared that perhaps your money could be locked for some time. Now, that doesn't mean that that's definitely going to be the case. You're not going to get your money back or something like that. It doesn't mean that. It just might take some time to find the right buyer, or it might take a lot of advertising, like continuous advertising that perhaps you wouldn't need in the UK. You know, we just go to an estate agent. You go to one estate agent, you know, you sign a contract with them and they will market that property for you. You know, if you're lucky, you sell it in a couple of months, maybe 6 months, a year, kind of like is like top end, you know. But here, you could be waiting 2 years before you sell your house. And that's just the fact of what it is. I feel like people are looking for more interesting options when it comes to buying property here. So there's things that they want. They don't just go to an area and say, okay, I want a 3-bedroom house, and they pick any 3-bedroom house, because even on a street, a row of houses, every house is going to be unique because people have built it to the spec that they want. Unless you're going into a development, that's different. If you're going into a like a community where they've got like, I don't know, like 50 houses and they're all exactly the same, and you're looking for a 3-bedroom, okay, you can pick a 3-bedroom from that. They're all pretty much identical. But if you're looking just on a row, like a street, and you're looking for a house, there's 3 for sale, they're all going to be 3 very, very different houses. They're all going to offer different things. And the price is going to be completely different, even though they're on the same street, because there is no control over what you can charge. There's no regulation when it comes to that. It's like, okay, I woke up, my heart feels like this house is worth $500,000. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for $500,000. That's $500,000 in your heart, but that doesn't mean a buyer is willing to pay $500,000. Maybe all buyers only see your house as $150,000. So now there's a discrepancy. So either you as the owner has to come down in price, or you're going to have to wait for that magical buyer that has the same passion about the house that you have. And that is going to take years. Might take 5 years. Be prepared to wait 5 years. So these are some of the things that you need to think of. And I'm not saying, please don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying that if you buy a house here, you're going to be stuck with the house forever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it may take some time for that house to sell, unless you're selling it for an extremely good deal. There's something very unique about the house, or somebody just has the same passion that you have about that property. So these are some of the things that you have to consider. So when you're coming to Ghana, make sure that you fully understand what it is that you're investing in, what it is that you're doing. Even for me, my house, I mean, I can't envision that I would ever sell this house. I said I can't envision because none of us knows the future. We don't know what could happen, and I'll be like, you know what, I have to sell. But I don't have any plans in my head to ever sell. But for me, this house has been a labor of love, and so I would want to charge a premium for it. But not everybody would be willing to see that, oh, there's a premium on this house. Like, I can only do what I can do. You know, I'm just very fortunate with my house that it's in a really good area. You know, there's a really nice road and things like that. So I have certain advantages. You may have bought in a place where the road is not good, and even though your house is spectacular, like the road to get to you is like, you know what I'm saying? There's things that people will consider. There's things that you have to think about as well when you're a buyer of a property too. Like, do you have constant electricity, or what is it like when lights go off? Do lights go off for like a couple of hours and they come back? Or do you have lights off for like 12 hours and you know you're going to need a generator, or you're going to need solar or something like that? What's your water supply like? What is the internet connection like? Because not every area has great internet connection, and not every area will have a particular service. So there are some areas where you may not get MTN, for example, right? MTN is an internet service. You may not get MTN in that area. So you may have to deal with one of the more local ones, and the network may not be as good. And if you work from home and that's what you're relying on, it may put you off buying that house. So there are so many considerations when it comes to saying, okay, I'm going to buy this property. People are looking for certain things. I feel like you have to put a lot more effort in when you're going to sell a property here as opposed to abroad, where it's just easier. It's just so much easier, you know. Like, there's information, there are comps, there are things, you know. Like, here is very random. You know, you can buy a house today. In a year's time, it could appreciate. In a year's time, maybe it's still the same. Depends if they lay a road down. If you're fortunate enough, you bought it, there was no road. Now a year or two later, they've put a road down. Now your house has just appreciated. Like, there are so many factors and things that can happen. So many moving parts when it comes to buying a property here. You know, you have to have some insight into certain things. before you can really make an informed decision on buying that house. So for most people, I feel like when they come to Ghana, they buy a house because they fall in love with the property, or, you know, they've built a house to the spec that they want. And that can be an advantage and it can be a disadvantage. It just depends. So really what I want you to understand, the aim of this video is for you to understand that if you're coming here and you've bought a property and you're now trying to sell it because you want to leave or because you want to move on and do something else, or you want to move to another area, it's not going to be as quick as it is in the West to sell. It could take a while. So I would say if you're going to do something like that, don't lock up all your money into that property, because it could be the thing that's the downfall for you. And again, I'm not trying to put people off. I'm trying to give you the reality of what it is like here. So sometimes, you know, people come to me and they want to like sell their houses, for example, right? It's going to take some time. You may not get a buyer immediately. It just depends. It depends. If someone falls in love with the house, they don't fall in love with the house. It depends on certain things. It doesn't matter if your house is on 5 acres. You know, you've got a tiny little house on 5 acres and there's room to grow things. There's room for children to run around. There's room to put a business on it. Someone's not necessarily looking for those things. So it is going to take a while. So you have to be prepared. So don't lock all your finances into one thing. You can build a house there, but don't lock all your finance into it. For me, my ideal, I've said it before, I think in a previous video, if I was to build again, I would build with other people. And we do like a JV together. And that's personally what I would do if I was to do it all again. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I've got to say. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say in the video. Yeah, that's it. So I wouldn't let that put you off investing in Ghana, because Ghana is a great place to invest once your returns come back, but it's just the length of time before you get your return on whatever it is that you've invested. There are people that have moved here that are doing extremely well. They have built properties, they've done developments, they've done things, they have businesses there that are working really, really, really well. But as I said, as some of you have mentioned in the comment section on my previous video, you know, there are ups and downs, there are highs and lows. You know, you have to have a certain type of grit about you to be able to go through these things. But that is why the profit margin is so huge when it comes to doing things here, right? High risk, high return. And that's pretty much it. If you want low risk, low return, there are other countries that are going to be that for you. They're going to be the countries that are a lot more developed. They have things already in place, all of that. But, you know, your margin's going to just be a lot smaller. That's just the fact of what it is. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to leave the video right there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do let me know what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear from you as well. If you had a property here, if you sold it, how long it took you to sell it, what challenges did you face? I think that's all interesting stuff. Let's learn from one another. Let's keep the conversation going. And that's pretty much it. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out.